Let's look at what happens when we take a product and raise it to a power. So for example, if we multiply a times n to the second and we raise that to another power, right? So that's what we're looking at. And here's what our product to a power rule says. It says we have ab raised to the n power, right? So ab raised to the n power, that is equal to a to the nth power times b to the nth power, whenever a is not equal to 0 and b is not equal to 0. If they're equal to 0, then that causes us some problems. So let's see what that looks like when we apply it down here. We're going to take 7 and raise it to the third power. So 7 times 7 is 49. So you have 49 times 7 is going to be 63, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 343. So 343 m to the 27th power. And once again, that's just 7 times 7 times 7. We brought that to the third power times m to the 9th times m to the 9th times m to the 9th. Whoops. And you get those together. So that gives you 343 m to the 27th as your result. Let's take a look at letter B. We're going to raise everything that is inside the parentheses, this product, right? Going to raise it to the negative fourth. Now note, if you had 2z to the negative fourth, that's not the same thing. That's 2 times z to the negative fourth. This is bringing everything inside to the negative fourth power. So we wind up with 2z to the negative fourth. I'm just going to write that underneath here, 2z to the fourth. And that's going to leave us with 1 over, and 2 to the fourth power is 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. Z, and I'm going to put a line through it there, to the fourth. And we are done with that one. 1 over 16z to the fourth. Last one, we'll do C here. And again, since everything is being put in parentheses and raised to the negative second power, I'm going to write this 1 over all of that stuff. 3g to the fourth to the second power. My exponent becomes positive. And that is going to give me 1 over 3 to the second power is 9. And g to the fourth to the second power, we multiply these two together. That gives us g to the 8th. So 1 over 9g to the 8th. So let's move on to the most complicated problems that we have. And those would be right here. What is the simplified form of each of these expressions? So we're going to simplify each one in order and see what it gives us. So let's take this one. We've got x to the negative second raised to the second power. That's going to leave us with x to the negative 2 times 2, which is negative 4, times 3xy to the fifth, all raised to the fourth. So 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. It's going to give us 81 here when we raise 3 to the fourth power. And x will be left to the fourth power because it's just being raised to the 1. 1 times 4 is 4. And 5 times 4 is 20, so that's y to the 20th. Now what can we do? Well, at this point, remember that multiplication is commutative and associative. We can rearrange it and we can group it however we want. So this really winds up being x to the negative fourth times 81 times x to the fourth times y to the 20th. So we're going to group those two x's. X to the negative fourth, x to the fourth. We'll add those together. That's going to give us x to the 0. X to the 0 times 81 times y to the 20th. Now what's x to the 0? Well, it's 1. 1 times 81 times y to the 20th. This cancels. That's just going to leave me with 81y to the 20th power. And that's my answer. And let's take a look at letter B here. Do this one in red. Everything in here is going to be raised to the fourth power. So 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is, again, 81. 81. C to the 5 over 2 raised to the fourth power. When I multiply these, and that's 5 over 2, that's going to give me 20 over 2, which is the 10th power, right? So if I have 20 over 2, that's 10. So we're raising this to the 10th power. So that's 81, and I forgot to put my variable in there, 81c to the 10th power. There we go. C to the 10th power times c to the 2 raised to the 3rd, which is c to the 6th. And again, since that's just multiplication, we can group these however we like. We're going to group these two together, and we'll add their exponents, and that's going to give us 81c to the 16th power. And we've got one more we can do here, so let's take a look at this one. So we'll do this one in red, and so we'll wind up with 6 to the 3rd power, and 6 to the 3rd power is 6 to the 3rd is 216, so that's 216a, and we raise that to the 3rd, and b to the 3rd. All this times 5 to the 2nd, which is 25, and we multiply these, so that's a to the negative 6th. And since these are all grouped together, we can just multiply our constants. 25 times 216. Spoiler alert, that's going to give you 5,400. And we can combine our a's here. So this is to the negative 6th, and this is to the positive 3. That leaves us with a to the negative 3rd, and just b to the 3rd. I don't like that negative there, so we want to simplify it fully. We'll take 5,400b to the 3rd and put that over a to the positive 3rd. And that's it. Last, we have a word problem. The expression 1/2 mv to the 2nd gives the kinetic energy in joules, right? In joules of an object with a mass of m kilograms and a speed of v meters. So we wind up with joules. It's probably going to be J if you want. What is the kinetic energy of an experimental unmanned jet with a mass of 1.3 times 10 to the 3rd kilograms, traveling at a speed of 3.1 times 10 to the 3rd milliseconds? So let's pull out our formula that it gave us right here. So that's important. 1/2 times the mass times the volume squared. And what do we have for our different values there? So what do we have for mass? That's 1.3 times 10 to the 3rd. And that's going to be times the velocity, which here's our speed, our velocity, which is 3.1 times 10 to the 3rd. All right, so that's our formula, right? We got to square this. That's important. So let's do the things that we can do, right? So if this is supposed to be squared, let's rewrite everything here. 1/2 times 1.3 times 10 to the 3rd. And then we have to deal with this. So 3.1 times 3.1 is going to be, I'm going to put it into my calculator, 9.61. So we raise this to the 2nd power, that's 9.61. And then 10 to the 3rd, raised to the 2nd is 10 to the 6th. And then we just have to multiply these. Well, it's kind of nice that we can rearrange these any way we want. So 1/2 times, and this time I want to group these two. And then I'm going to group these two right here. So let's group the 1.3 times 9.61 first. And then that's going to be multiplied by 10 to the 3rd times 10 to the 6th. And the reason I group these is because now this can be simplified. I can add those together. 10 to the 3rd plus the 6th is 10 to the 9th. Multiply that there. 1.3 times 9.61 is going to be 12.493. 12.493. And that's all going to be multiplied by 1/2. Now we can just multiply 1/2 times 12.493. You can punch that in your calculator, and it's going to give you 6.2465. And then we're going to leave it in scientific notation, so I'll just keep that times 10 to the 9th. And that's your answer. So give that homework a shot. Thanks.